press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello students, welcome back. Today we are going to begin another chapter in political science, that is human rights. Now this is a very simple chapter, very easy to understand as well. You have to just concentrate on whatever I am saying. You can pick your points of what I say and then we can finish the lesson. You can also finish the lesson likewise. Alright, we will go and begin and understand what are we going to study in this chapter. First is, what is the meaning of human rights? Human rights, how did it develop? How did it form? Or why do we need human rights as such? The Declaration of Human Rights, how did it get declaration? Then human rights and the Indian Constitution. What does Indian Constitution say about the rights of people? Then how do we implement these rights in our day-to-day ways? So let's get started with the lesson and understand how these human rights have influenced. Now, human right is everybody's basic right. Basic right, everybody has it. Everybody has it. Now this has begun from a very long time when civilization happened. Man asserted his freedom. Man needed something to prove himself. He had the basic right to live, to survive. That was his basic human right. Now when this has begun from a very long time, from the ancient civilizations, it was very necessary to have a peaceful life, to exist together, that is to stay together, to cooperate with each other. Then we needed a lot of development that was happening with human beings. We needed development, we needed coexistence, we needed cooperation. Ultimately, a peaceful life in the society was the basic right. Basic right to survive, a basic right for peace, for joy in whatever way you stayed. Alright? Now, these rights are like building blocks of democracy. Freedom, that is the building blocks of democracy. Now one of the political thinker, H.J. Lasky, says that a nation can be identified through its human rights. A nation can be identified, he is a political thinker, he says a nation can be identified through human rights. The nation which protects, the nation which implements and has a belief that every person in the nation is important, is entitled to have a peaceful life, is entitled to have a coexisting situation and lead peacefully, live peacefully, then that nation is identified through the rights that it gives. Now, human rights tell us how we have to live a life of dignity, of respect. We all have our own respect, isn't it? If you are younger to me or you're older to me, we are of the same age, everybody has the respect that they have to get. Dignity of life, dignity to live. Everybody has the right to live. You cannot go and spoil somebody's life like that. They are born for a purpose. They will do their purpose. Nobody can interfere with their purpose of life. So that is the basic human right of living. Of living how? Living peacefully. Alright? Now, when each one of them gets their own dignity, own respect, then we have a better society. Now, everybody in the society is respecting each other, then obviously it's a peaceful life. Everybody knows their boundaries. Everybody knows that each one of them has to be respected. Each one has to be valued. A dignified person has to be a dignified person. Then, obviously, it's going to be a peaceful society. In good terms with or in good relationships with people around us. Alright, we'll go into the meaning of having or what is human rights as such. Now, we have learnt human rights are needed for people to live a life of dignity. These are also needed for the universal development of human beings. Worldwide, it is needed everywhere. Everybody has the right to live. That is human right. A right to live, a right to freedom, right for expression. Our constitution lays down it and says, we'll move forward to the constitutional rights and understand. But basic is, you must understand this much: everybody has a right to live, and how dignified life, with dignity, with respect. All right? Okay, now these traces, or if we go back to the past and understand where it all began, it began in two city-states of ancient Greeks, okay, that is Athens and Sparta. Athens and Sparta, okay. It began there in these two city-states of ancient Greek. Now, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates also have spoken about state and the individual and how human rights have to be asserted. Now, this we have studied in the importance of political science, isn't it? How Aristotle influenced, what Socrates said, what Plato said. And further in other lessons you will deal with it when you learn your history as well. Moving on to what is Magna Carta. Okay. Now this is a agreement that was done on the basis of the English Constitution. On the basis of the English Constitution, an agreement was done. Okay, now in 1215 CE, the King of England was King John. King John, he broke many rules that were laid down ancient, from the very beginning, ancient rules and traditions, he broke them. Now people went on to fight against the king. Who was the king? King John. The people went on to fight against the king for their rights. He violated all the ancient traditions and practices, and people revolted back asking for their rights. Then, because people were asking for their rights, the king signed an agreement, that is this Magna Carta. Okay. With this, the government didn't interfere with the Church of England. The government had no right to interfere with the church. The monarchy had, but the government didn't have. Okay. The government's interference came to an end. Now, citizens had a right to their private and ancestral property as well. They could own their properties of their great-grandfathers, fathers, mothers, okay, all grandparents, anybody, ancestral property that was there. Now, everybody was considered equal before the law. That kind of an assertion was done that people are equal before the law. Now, Magna Carta is a very important document in the modern way of dealing with democracy. Modern democracy, Magna Carta is an important document which was signed and when King John was ruling England. Now, John Locke, he was a philosopher, as a physician as well. He was called as the father of liberalism. Okay, father of liberalism, understanding liberally things. Okay, I don't want to elaborate on that. You need not know much, but if you know this much is enough. He was a philosopher and a physician who was called as the father of liberalism. Now, he said these human rights are important. Okay, he said human rights are, you must liberate people, give them freedom. Okay, liberation, freedom. Be free from whatever shackles you are in. Okay, so he had a very systematic discussion on human beings having their natural rights. Natural rights, and what? He said basic rights cannot be given to any individual. How do you give basic right to an individual? Every individual is born with his basic rights, is what he said. Now, what are the basic rights people are born with? Natural rights of living and freedom. Everybody has the natural right to live, natural right for freedom. You cannot give them life or you cannot give them freedom. That is, each individual possesses as soon as he takes birth. The living and the freedom is a natural right, and that has to be given. That is there, it cannot be given, is what John Locke says. Then, when all this was asserted, when all this was said, individuals started realizing their importance in the society of having human rights. Each individual realized that I have to have my rights. I have to have my basic human rights. Basic human rights of what? Of living and freedom. That is my basic human right, and I will have it. They understood John Locke's words seriously. That is, you're born with it. You cannot be given any basic human or natural rights that are there. Now, at that time, there was something called as a bloodless revolution, or it is also called as the Glorious Revolution of 1688. Now, this glorious or bloodless revolution, why is it called in that way? Because at that time, King James was ruling. James II was ruling, and he was overthrown from the throne, and his daughter Mary took over the throne, and her Dutch husband William of Orange started to rule. Now, without any bloodshed, Mary and her husband William of Orange took over the throne after King James II. That is why, because there was no bloodshed, it is called as bloodless or glorious revolution. This is something very important in the history of history of England. All right. Now, after that, in 1689, something called as Bill of Rights was implemented. Bill of Rights. The Glorious Revolution or the Bloodless Revolution was in 1688. In 1689, Bill of Rights was implemented. Now, for the very first time when they introduced this Bill of Rights, a way of legislative guarantee, okay, a way of protecting these rights by the government, a guarantee that the government will protect these rights was given through this, okay. Human rights were given a legislative guarantee, that is, the government will take care of them. Now, at the same time, in America and France, revolutions were taking place, and all this happened because of the influence of John Locke, Rousseau and Montesquieu. These are all philosophers, okay. John Locke, Rousseau and Montesquieu. Now, this happened in America and France because of their influence of these three philosophers, the thoughts of these philosophers, and who wanted a free society, who wanted a freedom for every person, and considered right to live was a natural right of the people. Now, after that, the American independence was declared in 1787. Okay, American independence was declared in 1787, and for the very first time a list of human rights was declared on 15th of December 1791. Okay. Okay, 15th of December 1791, a list of human rights was declared after American independence in 1787, 87 to 91, okay, 91 it was declared, and this list of human rights was included in the American Constitution. After it was given in 1791, it was included in the American Constitution. Now, this Human Rights Declaration in France also in the year 1789 was an important aspect in the history, okay, 1789 in France. Human Rights Declaration. (1787) American Independence, 1789 Declaration of Human Rights in France, and 1791 a bill, this list of human rights that is also included in the American Constitution. All right. Now, once this was implemented, or once this was put or laid forward to people, the dictatorship in France was removed. The dictatorship means do as I say, okay, this is how you have to do, this is how you have to do. Dictatorship was removed and a French Republic came into existence, a free society came into existence. Now, this declaration, okay, as French Republic or Declaration of Human Rights in 1789, what did it say? It said that we give equal rights to freedom, equality, property and security. So, we have freedom, property, security and equality, we give equal rights for all these. The declaration assured that, the Declaration on Human Rights assured that all these things will be taken care of, security, freedom, equality and property. Now, these human rights is not only for one specific area, but it is for everybody, it's universal, it's for everybody living. All people who are living, it's universal. Human rights are applicable to each and every individual in the world. It is not only for one restricted area, it is universal, it's for everybody. Now, this League of Nations was after the First World War came into existence, okay, League of Nations, now it's not there. League of Nations that came into existence after the First World War, they had their own directives or they had their own ways of saying these human rights, or they had their own directions on human rights. Then the Second World War, after the Second World War, they had to protect this human rights that was there, and with the efforts of Joseph Stalin, okay, he was the former premier of Soviet Union, then Franklin Roosevelt was the 32nd US president, and then Winston Churchill, he was the prime minister in the United Kingdom. Alright, with these three people who are there after the Second World War, these three people, Stalin, Roosevelt and Churchill, Winston Churchill, they with their efforts, the United Nations organizations, the UNO came into existence, taking away League of Nations. Alright, earlier League of Nations were there where they gave their own directives and human rights. Then that is after the First World War. Now, after the Second World War, these three people, Stalin, Roosevelt and Churchill, they put in their efforts together, and the United Nations organizations, UNO, came into existence. So, Stalin, Roosevelt and Churchill, UNO came into existence. Okay, UNO came into existence by their efforts together. Now, the preamble of the UNO declares, See, I would like to read it for you and then we will explain. We the people of the world have decided to protect our future generation from the destruction of wars. War has driven us to sadness twice in our lifetime. So they say the preamble there, like we have the preamble to the Indian Constitution, we the people of India. He says there, here it says we the people of the world. We the people of the world have decided what? To protect the future generation that is going to come from the destruction of wars. Whatever happened in the First World War and the Second World War, a lot of destruction, everything was destroyed. We don't want the future generation to get destroyed or destructed in that way, and because of that purpose, we would like to protect it. So the people of the world will protect it. War has driven us sadness twice in our lifetime. So war that happened first time and the second time, it has given a lot of sadness. It has happened twice in our lifetime. We had to live once for it, and the second time when we wanted to live again, it started. So we have seen sadness twice in our lifetime. We don't want the future generation to see it. We want the future generation to be peaceful and happy, have their own basic and natural rights of freedom and living, and that is why we would declare this to the people of the world. Right? People of the world. That says the preamble of the UNO. Now, this establishment of UNO was there to prevent the human right violations in any part of the world. So nobody could violate the human rights of people in any part of the world. This was something said by, or this happened because of the establishment of the UNO, where they protected or prevented from violation of human rights. Now UNO, now it has to protect, isn't it? It has to prevent the violation. So in order to do all this, the UNO has its members, member countries. It has its member countries to protect the rights compulsorily on December 10th, 1948. So December 10th, 1948, Human Rights Day. Okay. So from that it has its member countries, and it instructs its member countries in its own way. When it instructs its member countries, they take on forward whatever has to be done. Moving forward, we will go into understanding the rights, human rights, and the Indian Constitution. Now, it is the preamble says, isn't it? We the people of India, having solemnly resolved into a sovereign republic, okay, and so on and so forth. So we have ways of dealing. Here, let's see how the human rights is dealt with the Indian Constitution. Now, whatever the human rights were declared by the UNO has been discussed in the preamble. That is what I said. We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to the rest of the part of the preamble, okay. That is the preamble of the Constitution. So that is discussed there, as well as in the fundamental rights of our Constitution. That is in the Indian perspective. The declaration that was done by the UNO in the Indian perspective has been discussed in the preamble as well as the fundamental rights. Now, in the preamble, equality, fraternity and freedom are told or discussed. Equality, fraternity, freedom. I don't want to read the preamble for you, it's very long. We will understand certain things out of it. That is more important than understanding the preamble. The preamble, you will understand it next year. So, we need equality, we need brotherhood, we need freedom. This is discussed in the preamble. Now, the part 3 of the Constitution from Article 12 to 35 are under fundamental rights. Under fundamental rights. So, we have 7 fundamental rights in the original Constitution, but again it was amended in the 44th Amendment of the Constitution in 1978. The right to property was taken out, and now we have 6 fundamental rights. Earlier 7 were there. In the 44th Amendment of 1978, right to property was eliminated, and then out of the fundamental rights, all are included under Article 300A as the constitutional right. Now we have 6 of them. So what are the 6 of them? Which one are they? They are right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to religious freedom, right to educational, cultural and educational rights, right to constitutional remedies. Okay, we have a right to equality, freedom, against exploitation, any exploitation, form of exploitation, religious freedom, free to practice, cultural and educational rights, you have your cultural and educational rights as well, right to constitutional remedies. Okay. Now, in the 86th Amendment of the Constitution, in Article 21A, education has been made a right in 2002. Now, the government has to provide free and compulsory education to children from 6 to 14 years of age. That was done in 2002. Now, what is the difference between fundamental rights and human rights? Now, human rights are universal in nature, okay, it's for everybody, and they are necessary for the development of human beings. They keep up the respect and dignity of human beings. Now, the violations here are not protected by the court of law, okay, but fundamental rights are something that are ensured, or fundamental rights are something that are given by the Constitution. So, violations, anything, if anybody violates one of these rights, then the Supreme Court will take over and it can be discussed with the court of law. High courts and the Supreme Courts will take it. So, fundamental rights are specific in nature and they are protected by the Constitution. Now, there are various institutions where human rights protection happens. Now, this UNO held its meeting with all the member states in 1966 and told its members that they have to protect the human rights. So, a International Human Rights Commission was formed to progress or to develop at the international level. So, National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commissions are also formed at the national and the state level, that is at the country and at the state level. Now, the first one is National Human Rights Commission. Now, this is a constitutional body. It was established in the Parliament in 1993. Now, it looks after the human rights of the country, the National Human Rights Commission. So, it is a multi-member body, it has a chairman and its members. So, this chairman is a retired judge of the Supreme Court. Now, these members who are there, they should be the current judges or who are judges at present or retired judges. Where they should be current judges? They should be current judges in the High Court or retired judges. Now, 2 members again will be there who have knowledge on human rights. So, the commission will also have 4 ex officio members. By default, they become members. So, the chairman and members are appointed by the President of India. Their tenure is for 5 years or till they attain 70 years of age, whichever comes earlier. Either 70 years come earlier or whether their 5-year term comes earlier, that is their term. So, they receive remuneration, okay, from the central government, a form of amount that they get, okay. So, this has to be implemented. They have to look after without discriminating anybody, no prejudice at all anywhere, and work independently without any interference anywhere and not to discriminate people. Next is the State Human Rights Commission. Now, according to this, in this again as per the human rights in 1993, state human commissions were established at the state level. Now, again they take human right violation cases. Again here it has 1 chairman and 2 members. The chairman should be a retired judge of the High Court and members should be either serving judges or retiring judges or at least served at the district courts for 7 years. They should have served at the district court, if not there in the High Court, and they will be appointed by the governor of the state. Then there is something called as the National Commission for Scheduled Caste. Now, this scheduled caste and scheduled tribes was bifurcated, divided in 2003 by the 89th Amendment to Article 338. So National Commission of Scheduled Castes and National Commission of Scheduled Tribes was formed. Bifurcated is divided. Scheduled caste is different, scheduled tribe is different. So scheduled caste has one chairman, one vice chairman and 3 members. So they are appointed by the President of India. So the commission takes up issues related to scheduled caste people and identifies if there is any violation that is done on their human rights and gives them relief. Then the commission gives a lot of information to people and also gives statistics or reports to the central government and also the state government in order to plan certain programs so that they can benefit their people. Next is Commission for Scheduled Tribes. This came again with the existence in 89th Amendment to the Constitution in the year 2003. Again it has one chairman, one vice chairman, 3 members. They are appointed by the President of India. Functions are same as the scheduled caste, that is look after people, not get violated anywhere. National Commission for Backward Classes. This was again founded in 1993. One chairman, 4 members. Commission has to protect the right of backward classes. Then Commission for Women. Again Women Commission was formed under the law in 1990 and it has one chairman and 5 members. It looks after the constitutional rights, or it looks after violations that happen on women and protect their rights. Then it also studies what status women have with respect to education, the society, what kind of economic and health issues they have, and also protect and help them. Next is National Commission for Minorities. This was again formed in the year 1992 for protection of minority people. Here there again one chairman, one vice chairman and 5 members. 6 religious communities are identified as minorities. The Muslims, the Christians, the Sikhs, Buddhists, Parsis and Jains. So all these people who come under these religions are minorities. The Muslims, the Christians, the Sikhs, the Buddhists, Parsis and the Jain. So this commission takes a study on what these minorities needs and protect the interest of these minorities. Whatever it is, anywhere they are violated or anything happens to them, they are protected. Now, central government has given certain acts so that violation doesn't happen. Minimum Wages Act, Prevention of Unethical Activities Act, Prevention of Dowry Act, not supposed to give dowry at all, Prohibition of Dowry Act, Prohibition of Bonded Labor like slaves, not to work like slaves, Sati Prevention Act, no sati, no jumping after in the funeral pyre of the husband after the husband is dead, Human Rights Protection Act, Right to Information Act, Domestic Violence Prevention Act. So all these acts are given by the government in order to understand. Okay, now here we wind up this lesson, and that's what I told you in the beginning, isn't it? It's a very simple lesson. If you read it twice, you will get it. Thank you very much, students, for listening.